Okay. Oh, looks like, let's see. So it looks like I still need to be made a co-host. Bree, are you able to do that for me?
Let me see if I can.
If the with the three dots up there.
Yep. I think we just got it, Laura.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so I'll go ahead and share my screen and then we will get started here. Okay. All right. Okay, are we good here? I think that we can get started. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Obviously, we are very excited to be here for Denver Startup Week, day one, shaking through all of the technical difficulties. But Bree and I are really pumped to be here. We appreciate the Denver Startup Week team and then the sponsors that are making this week possible. And something that's exciting is that some of those sponsors actually appear in our presentation. So just hopping in here, this session is called How to Cheat on the B2B Playbook. We're going to go over some examples of how we at Suna have cheated on the B2B Playbook. We'll go over some of the playbooks that we put into use and move through a few playbooks and show you how you can cheat on yours. So we'll go ahead and hop in here. So my name is Laura Oxler. I am Suna's customer success manager. My background though, however, while I focus on clients now, my background is in marketing strategy and content strategy.
And I am Brianna Littlepage, and I'm the director of marketing here at Suna. And my background has really been in growth marketing, digital marketing, as well as building out consumer brands. So if you think about Suna, just a little background on us. Suna, our mission is fast casual content. We're a studio with a mission to create quality content for all, right? So we're female founded. We are launched in Denver in April of 2019. We have studios in Minneapolis, and as of last week, we just opened our latest studio in Austin, Texas. So we are proud to be a part of this Denver startup community and are happy to create photos and videos for many of the startups around here, and many of you on this call. So we create about us videos, product pictures, to even offering free headshots for individuals. So we're a growing tech startup. We're constantly testing new marketing strategies. So today we'll be diving into our approach on how to cheat on the B2B playbook.
Okay, so before we dig into all of the deets, we wanted to play a game to test out some current playbook knowledge. So we know we haven't really gotten into the nitty gritty of all of these playbooks. That's why we're all here. But we wanted to get your mind going with a little exercise. So what we're going to do is show you a few photos, and what we will ask from you, and you don't need to mess around in Zoom or anything. This is more of just kind of to think about what playbook are these brands that we're going to show you? What are they following based on the image that we show? So first being the business to business, second being direct to consumer, and third being a retail first marketing playbook. So let's check them out. Okay, so this first image here, what are we thinking? B2B, direct to consumer, or retail first? All right, how about this little pig wearing a mask? Do we think that this would be a graphic that a B2B company would share, direct to consumer, or retail first? Okay, next is this person that's throwing some lemons up in the air. What do you guys think this playbook is? And here's the last one. So what are we thinking for this little wink logo? Direct to consumer, B2B, or retail first? So we're going to go ahead and revisit these brands. However, at a glimpse, they appear to have a straightforward approach, but we do have a secret. All of them are cheating on their standard playbook. So each of these has a standard playbook, and the examples that we showed you show them deviating from that a little bit in order to glean a competitive advantage.
So as I said earlier, Suna is a tech company with a consumer-facing product and retail stores. So we're marketing to other businesses, but we knew we just couldn't pull from the B2B playbook. So before we dive into exactly how Suna cheated on the B2B, let's break down these playbooks. And we're going to start with business to business marketing. So here's a snapshot of some B2B businesses we all know, many of which we use at Suna, one of which we're using right now, Zoom. So we have a lot to learn from these brands and how their strategy ladders up to the pillars. There's always debate about playbooks, but these are really the 5 core pillars that we've identified that seem to be consistent throughout, focusing around solutions, stickiness, leadership, retention, and trust. So if we dive into each one of these and take a look at some examples from around the ecosystem, what we're seeing, if we start to think about solutions. So solutions first. So when you exist in a B2B world, you're really solving a problem for businesses. And so we look at Shopify, and Shopify makes e-commerce very easy to launch, right? And every company really needs to sell online, but setting up e-commerce was difficult and cumbersome. So Shopify identified that problem and launched knowing they could solve that massive headache for so many businesses. And now it's the solution for a brand of any size to get into the e-com game. If you think about stickiness is all about ingraining your business your brand into another business. So how can you make your product so sticky that's integral to how the business functions? So Slack really brings teams together wherever they are. And a way of doing this, they're so ingrained that's actually almost impossible to think about working without it. So Slack was not only the first instant messenger, but because it was so easy to use and user-friendly, it really became a game changer and game-changing lifeblood of so many companies, including Suna.
I don't know what we would do without Slack. It seems like a sad world out there without Slack.
And now we jump into the third one. So if you think about it, being a thought leader. So being a thought leader in the B2B space is such an important pillar. If you think about thought leaders, you think about content. If your business is delivering on this pillar, other businesses can really start to lean on you to deliver ideas, solutions, and inspiration to how to solve their problems. We think, Gusto is a great example of this. It's an all-in-one people platform. It provides all the resources you need in one place, so you can really focus on what you love doing without any of the hassle. So as founders, instead of having to spend so much time worrying about, taxes or onboarding or payroll, you can really offshore this to your Gusto platform, and they really have curated a bunch of resources for you to write in on their platform, so you don't have to spend so much time digging in to find the answer. And retention. So we know that retention, especially in B2B SaaS companies, customer retention is really everything. The better a company is at keeping their customers, the better they're going to be at growing. So successful B2B businesses focus on successful onboarding, exceptional customer service, and pricing models that really incentivize retention. And we think Expensify really does a great job of this in terms of not only just managing your receipts, but really learning what you buy and where it should be categorized so you can really start to set it and forget it. And you kind of forget that this is such an integral part of your business because your retention with them is so easy. And it really makes it easier for you to grow your business and scale with them. And lastly, think about trust. So business to business is all about built on trust, right? Relying on another business to build your own business requires a ton of trust. And you must deliver this first and foremost. Stripe is one of those that is a payment processing that scales. So they really need to make it super easy and be credible and reliable in delivering on that payment processing. And Stripe does this from day one and continues on as the business scales as they continue to grow.
Okay, so Bree did a great job of the snapshot of the B2B pillars. So let's move to the direct-to-consumer breakdown. So check out all of these direct-to-consumer brands. My mom calls these millennial brands. But a lot of direct-to-consumer, we know that retailers right now are moving toward DTC, but this is a really new space. So a lot of these companies are following these same pillars. Similar to B2B, we've identified the 5 core pillars for direct-to-consumer strategy. So the direct-to-consumers model is just different. Obviously, with B2B, you are marketing to humans, but when you're directly marketing to a consumer, you just think about things a little bit differently. So the pillars that we identified that thread through the direct-to-consumer marketing playbook: mission driven by product, transparency, value, quality, and advocacy. So this first example of mission driven by product, people care about purpose, and direct-to-consumer companies use mission to drive their product. Sometimes it can be associated with a giving back element like a Tom's, but sometimes mission is really just what a company decides to be about outside of their product. So Casper's a great example of this. They believe in better sleep. They don't call themselves a mattress company. They believe that better sleep can make the world go round better. So it's about the bigger mission of providing better sleep within their network of customers, not just about selling mattresses. Transparency. So part of the beauty of direct to consumer is often cutting out the middleman, which can reduce cost. So a pillar of direct to consumer is transparency, both in price, but also in production. So Everlane is a fantastic example of this. This direct to consumer company has been making interesting marketing decisions from the get-go, such as having customers pick their price of what they wish to pay. And the way that they do this is they call it radical transparency. So they lift the veil of their cost of production. On their website, they share data and photos of how their products are made. And not only does it give their customers a really great snapshot of exactly what it is that they're buying, it also gives them a competitive advantage because they're able to put their pricing side by side to traditional retailers, and their customers can see how much those things are marked up. The third one is value. So in direct to consumer, when we cut out the middleman, you can just charge less, period. So as customers, Dollar Shave Club has a membership that is very customer centric. Customers can control how much they need, when they want to get it, and they can always opt out and they can always cancel their membership at no cost to them. So by cutting out the middleman in direct to consumer, they can access better for less. Quality. So away luggage will fix or replace forever. So direct to consumer is kind of a new behavior. Thinking about luggage, most people would go to a department store and get this. And changing the behavior by ordering something online that you can't even touch or feel before, away backs that up with a quality guarantee. So they do this in two different ways. So they have a 100-day trial period. If at any point you want to give it back within those 100 days, you can use it. You can put stickers on it. You can send it in if you don't like it, which is a guarantee that gives a customer peace of mind. If your away cracks or breaks or the zipper breaks or anything like that, they will replace it forever. So standing behind this quality promise really means that customers can feel confident about changing their behavior and doing something like ordering luggage online, which people sometimes wouldn't dream of. And then the last pillar for direct to consumer is advocacy. So you can kind of argue that direct to consumer brands really started to flourish when their marketing strategies tied in with social. So take Warby Parker, for instance, also kind of known as one of the first direct to consumer brands. Their at-home try-on program put all of the control into the customer's hands, but it also introduced a sharing element, which meant that the people that are using Warby Parker started to become more vocal about it and sharing about the brand. So not only are they able to provide a great way for people to try on their glasses at home, they created advocates naturally and organically. Our example here is Glossier. So Glossier, the cool kid makeup company, has an enthusiastic fan base that has really defined their brand. So they've really used content to their advantage to share about their products and build brand loyalty. And they've really created this army of Glossier folks who are obsessed with their product. And when someone is obsessed with your product, they're going to shout it from the rooftops. So Glossier has done such a great job of converting their brands into champions, converting their customers into champions.
Thanks, Laura. So that is the D2C breakdown. We'll jump right into retail first so we can get a better sense of that go-to-market strategy as well. So here are a snapshots of some of the retail first or retail pure businesses that have launched more recently. These brands obviously have been forced to steal a lot from other playbooks in the past few months, but when they started, you can really see how they delivered on the retail first core pillars, and now are thinking about how to start stealing from other brands, especially the D2C brand pillars, to be able to continue to expand their presence. So these pillars are, the four core pillars that we identified are convenience, selection, experience, and expertise. So convenience. So while everything now is more focused on online access, there is still something really special about being able to run down and grab something immediately from a store. That's even faster than a 2-hour delivery. The pop-up grocer is a newer concept that curates natural foods around the corner. So they have an innovative grocery experience where customers don't really expect, and you can really meet them where they already are, right? So pop-up grocery is betting on the fact that customers want to have a curated, convenient experience for them to find their new favorite natural foods. And now they've really figured out how to continue that experience and deliver those products to them through e-commerce platforms after the pop-up moves on to the next location. Selection. So a retail first approach usually, gives customers in the local market something unique or different that they couldn't have access elsewhere. So Milk Bar, when it opened its doors, it really focused on providing unique treats and options where you couldn't get anything anywhere else. And now, in the last few months, they too are expanding online to make sure their customers can celebrate at home with these special unique treats. If you think about experience is really everything for a retail store. And the details matter, down to the smell, the music, the greeting, and really e-commerce can't compete with this pillar. And so what great retail stores do is deliver on this experience every day. And Dry Bar has kind of been known for doing this. It delivers this very VIP experience every day. And they've recognized that by creating an experience first, they could then continue to sell their products to that customer to bring home a piece of that experience back home with them. And then expertise. So retail stores really can be structured to connect customers with experts they want. Lululemon with yoga instructors, Tailor and Stitch delivers tailors for customized fittings in their store. And SoulCycle has a very impressive list of fitness stars that are leading their courses. So it results in really a cult-like following for the brand.
Okay, so we've gone over the 3 playbooks that we can pull from: business to business, direct to consumer, and retail force. So now it's time for a pillar party. So it's time to check out all these pillars in one place so you can take a look at the full landscape and start to cherry pick what might work for your marketing strategy. So take a look. So this is a meaty slide here. There's a lot of words, and the idea isn't going to be take every single thing from every single playbook. The question is, what can you take from each of these for your brand to test some things out in marketing, or maybe try to have a little bit more of a competitive advantage for certain features of your products. So if you're a B2B company, is there a better way that you can share your brand mission and kind of cheat on the B2B playbook with direct to consumer? Maybe you have a loyalty program to explore alternative pricing tiers. As direct to consumer, can you pull from B2B and build out a partnership ecosystem, or think through your customer service interactions that are focused on delivering solutions and not just products to your customers? Maybe you think about a retail environment that can really drive your mission and tell that story a lot better. And maybe as a retailer, and this is something that, of course, all retailers are thinking about right now, with the state of things right now, can you build out your e-com store to really deliver on the unique experience that you're able to do in your retail first environment? Potentially, maybe you have a new retention model like subscription. We know that retail first has already been forced to adjust their playbooks. So this is a really kind of a simple way and a nice starting point to think through what can you cheat on your traditional playbook with to start really making a difference for your brand. So let's revisit some of our photos that we checked out earlier to see where these brands, what playbook their traditional playbook is, and then how they are cheating on it.
So you guys may recognize this brand. We see it all over online. So maybe these weren't tough quizzes, but it's fun to see it in this different environment. So this is Allbirds, right? This is a direct to consumer business. That's how they launched. That's how they started. That's how they scaled the business. But they're really thinking about how do they do retail and how they do differently to steal from the retail playbook, but still blend it with their direct to consumer core principles. So Allbirds is really extending their direct to consumer experience through the education and transparency in their brick and mortar stores. They have descriptions of their materials throughout the store. They're really limiting the footprint. Their store size is a lot smaller than a traditional retail store. And they're focused on really offering special selections in the retail stores to make it feel like a unique experience. So you can see how they're really thinking about those pillars to make it true to their brand, but continue to pull from some of the other playbooks out there.
Okay, back to the cute little pig wearing a mask. So this is a Gusto graphic. We mentioned them in the B2B playbook, and something that Gusto, of course, is a B2B business, and we think that they are cheating with direct-to-consumer advocacy. So, for example, on Gusto's homepage, they share the reviews that they share aren't from other businesses. They're actually from users of their platform. Gusto has super consumer-friendly messaging and navigation and graphics. So this is a little pig that actually just trots when you're logging in, and it's waiting for the page to load. And it just really encourages advocacy. So what does this do? It results in employees bringing gusto from one startup to the next. So when people, not just as businesses, but as people enjoy using the products, they're going to take that to the next place that they work.
And this is one of our sponsors. This is Zestful. So this is a B2B business that has many direct-to-consumer tactics. They're probably one of the only benefits company that you really want to follow on Twitter. So that's something right there. And Zestful really just has a playful brand. They're focused on advocacy. They're focused on connecting with the consumer. And they're creating a fun branding and reward system. And by not having any minimum contracts or spend minimums or contracts, they really are delivering on a quality or value for their customers instead of building in this kind of long-term contracting structure.
Okay, and the last example that we shared is actually Suna's logo. So this is our wink logo, kind of the fun play that we have in the B2B world. So now let's talk about how Suna has cheated on the B2B playbook. So Suna is a B2B tech company that offers a consumer-facing product with retail stores. So when it comes to our marketing, we do have a bit of an identity crisis here of what playbook we should be pulling from. So when we think about the B2B playbook, when should we do the traditional approach of sharing content that helps us become thought leaders in the content space? In direct to consumer, what does a loyalty or referral program look like for a tech company with a consumer product in retail stores? And then in the retail first side of things, so when people actually do come into the Soonest Studios, how is their experience better than any other?
So this is where we are landing right now. And as we said, we continue to test and learn different ways of driving on this. But as you can see, we're not sticking to the B2B playbook. Instead, we are pulling from all various things, solutions from B2B, mission driven from direct to consumer with a high value and transparency and quality, and really focus on our retail experience and expertise to be a driving factor of our business. So if you dive into it, we're really focused on solutions. And this is, Suna makes high quality content accessible for everyone. We know that this is a major problem for a lot of businesses to figure out how to scale and how to grow their business. And by making it really affordable and accessible for them to be able to get access to content, we can deliver a really meaningful solution to our customers. A lot of clients don't know where to begin with content, so we're making production a lot simpler for them to be able to jump in and get the results they need. And Suna is very much a mission-driven company. We, again, are delivering quality content for all. So this comes through in a lot of different varieties in terms of our product structure, in terms of our price point, in terms of our virtual online experience where people can get content from afar, even if they aren't in our retail locations. But what we also have recently launched is our Headshots for All platform. And this is where we deliver free headshots for everyone, forever, to help you actually launch your business or land that next interview. We really think this is a platform that's an important representation for what we stand for. We encourage you all to come in and sign up for Headshots for All if you're in any of our Minneapolis, Denver, or Austin locations right now. And lastly, not lastly, the transparency, that's the third one. We actually, we really think it's important that we solve our problems in a way clients can see and participate in. So we're not going to just be a black box for production where creatives, often will get the product, walk away, and then throw back content to our clients. We invite our clients to participate in the production of their content and see the way that our platform and our technology is transforming the way they can interact and produce content every day. So this brings our clients not only into their experience, they can be part of that production, but also make sure that we're delivering on the quality they want right from the beginning. And this is, by the transparency of this, we're also bringing pricing really upfront in production so that customers know what to expect and how to budget for creating content for whatever platform, whatever campaign they're doing, whatever, quarter of the spend they have. We really want to make sure that they understand, know the cost to create content upfront.
Okay, so when it comes to cheating on B2B with direct to consumer, quality is another place that we kind of rob from. So part of Suna is every single time we take a photo, it appears live in a dashboard for people to check out and see. They can add a heart icon to their favorites or add things right to their bag. And part of this is part of our mission of making quality content for all is that you don't always love every single asset that's shot. So at Suna, you only buy the assets that you love. It's all opt-in, no obligation to buy, and no surprises. So customers really have the confidence that they're going to get a high quality experience, and they're not going to be forced to buy the things that don't work for their brand. So by customers only buying the assets they love, they know that they're going to get a quality experience and quality content. And experience. So this is coming from the retail first playbook, but which you come to Suna for the content, but the magic is in the experience. So our customers are a huge challenge for us and many other brands, and especially right now during COVID, is bringing an in-studio or an in-store experience to life digitally. So a way that when you come into a Soonest studio, the music's on, you grab a LaCroix from the fridge, creating a quality experience or creating a great experience seems kind of quote unquote easy. It's fun to play around in a photo video studio. There's tons of props to play around with. But how do we bring that to life in our virtual experience, which is kind of the $1 million question of 2020? And so our virtual experience need to match. And so when clients chat with us, they're able to see their content come to life in a way that they've never experienced before. So while we can't exactly match that in-studio experience, our tech has allowed us to bring our clients into the experience. And here's just some great snapshots of chats that these are real screenshots from our clients within the chat during the live shoot. And then expertise. So Suna was founded by 2 women in the traditional production world, and a huge part of their vision is to create an amazing place to work. Heart of Suna is the talented creatives, and this really shows through in the product that we deliver. So all of our photographers have really interesting backgrounds, creative backgrounds from all over the country. And so the heart of Suna is the talented creatives, and that really shows in the work that we deliver. And the biggest way that Suna cheats on the B2B playbook is the Suna brand in general. So we have pink branding. Our website doesn't look like a B2B website. We use emojis in our ads. We write really cheeky copy. So an email that you get from Suna doesn't really seem like it's coming from a B2B tech company. So another thing is that a huge part of our marketing mix is on Instagram, because we know that's where our customers are actively consuming and creating content. So if you look at a traditional B2B playbook and they talk about writing a white paper to be a thought leader in the space, the Suna version of that is not going to be a very tech heavy white paper. It's going to be a really visual first creative toolkit so that brands know what the best practices are to post on Shopify or Amazon. So the idea isn't just to let's cherry pick from all these different places. What are the different things you can take from those playbooks, tweak them to match your brand or the goals that you're trying to reach? And that's how we suggest cheating on the playbook. So our challenge for you is to break out of your standard playbook and see the places that you can cherry pick from these different playbooks. And these are just a few of them. Of course, there are more out there. Where can you cherry pick? And again, it's not about taking every single thing and trying to deliver on that. It's about seeing in the direct consumer world, they really focus on advocacy. How could I do that as a retail first company? So I think from here, we would love to open it up to some questions in the chat. Feel free to use the chat at the bottom, and Bree and I are happy to answer any questions about the presentation or about cheating on playbooks in general. So Bree, can you check out the chat there?
Yep, I got it.
Oh, right on. Let's fly.
There is nothing yet. Oh. We'd love the questions, and we'd also just love to hear how is your company currently cheating on it? Give us an example. You're a B2B company, but you're exploring what pillar from a retail strategy or from a D2C space. I think this is fun to kind of challenge ourselves to think outside the box and figure out where there's opportunities to really go. There we go. So here we have Jillian. She said, hi, all. I'm a B2B and B2C with a blog based in Aspen. She also has a shop. So she's actually exploring all of these 3 things at one time.
Right on. I think that one thing that Bree and I kind of forgot to mention and is that our playbook changes and evolves a lot depending on our marketing goals. So we had actually done this practice of seeing these different playbooks that we had robbed from, and things had already changed by the time we had put together this presentation of the different pillars. So I also think that these things change and evolve. And, maybe there is a campaign that you have that you would be able to pull from B2B or retail first or something like that. So this is always a tool to use. It's not just a single thing that you create once and then never change.
We have a question here. So if you could only pick one thing that's most important for a D2C brand to do to stick out in today's world, what would that be and why?
That's an awesome question. I think it would I think that this is kind of a cop-out answer, of course. I always come back to what makes your brand meaningfully different. And that's not just your product, but it's also how you talk about your product. And so I think that, when it comes to, I don't think that there's an exact answer that we can put a pin in, but I would just say, of the things that make your product valuable to your customers, what is it that makes you meaningfully different from your competitors and other DTC brands? So we know that tons of retail companies are coming into the direct consumer space. So the competition is really growing. All eyes are on e-com right now. So I would say, what is the one thing that makes your brand meaningfully different? And I guess from there, see which of these it could potentially fall under. What say you, Bree?
Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I think it's all going to be a little different, especially in the D2C space where everything is becoming kind of loud, right? There's a lot of D2C. And so you have to figure out whether you want to take the value approach and be more of a digitally native vertical brand, right? And be able to deliver on the value. So really you have to think through what's your go-to-market strategy and what's your point of differentiation and how do you then socialize or bring that to life with the brand message. I do think there's some interesting things where you start to see direct to consumer that's starting to cheat on some of these, where it almost feels a slightly different than what we've come to expect, right? So we see a lot of mission driven brands, or we see a lot of brands that are just focusing on cutting out the middleman and delivering a cheaper price point. But if they aren't thinking about experience in conjunction with that, they're really missing out on what is a unique value that they can bring to life. Okay, we have a few more questions. Let's see. So what's the best way to socialize the pillars and their value with a team that isn't so marketing savvy?
Speak their language. So we were probably very jargon heavy in this deck. I would imagine. So I would just say, a practice that I have a lot is just literally saying anything that you write down out loud. So I would say, making sure that when you're talking about stickiness with B2B, if you were, maybe someone wouldn't know what that means right off the bat, but by saying like stickiness, like how we can't live without Slack. So basically just speaking like a human, because sometimes in marketing, we don't sound like humans.
That's true. And I would just say, I mean, the more you can bring these back to your actual goals of a company, right? If you're actually driving towards advocacy because you know that that's really important, bring it back to those KPIs. Like, are you looking for reviews, or what's the distinction between those reviews, or what's the way that you want to kind of to bring that back to more actionable results that you can see within your company? Let's see what else we got here. So Rob asked another follow-up, do you work with entrepreneurs that are still in the idea phase who haven't launched a product yet?
We do, yeah. And I would say for Suna specifically, we always say start with our website, check out what we've created before, see what you like. And then probably the biggest recommendation that Bree and I would have is Suna actually has a style quiz that you can take. So if you go to suna.co/mystyle or style quiz, sorry, that is not the right URL, suna.co/style quiz. And take the style quiz. And that's a really great start for you to basically, it'll spit out your style and a mood board for you to start with. And it's also just fun to take. But Sooner really comes in when we do have the hard product in hand. So once you kind of have your style and you start gathering examples of what you'd like to create, that would definitely be the first step.
And I would also just build on that a little bit too. If you're still in the idea phase and you're thinking about doing a Kickstarter or some of these other kind of crowdsourcing platforms where you actually don't even have a prototype, but you want to sell people on the vision of what you can deliver, we can really make that come to life from a video perspective of having you in front of the camera, really tell your story. And those about us videos are really compelling, especially within that space where it is just concepting for you, but if you can share your vision for the world, then they really can understand it. So there's other ways to bring it to life, even if you don't have the exact prototype, but ways to kind of, we're not just about product companies, we're about really any sort of service too. And there's different ways and different tools we can do to create content to help you with that. Let's see. So to achieve these 5 pillars in B2B, is it better to outsource anything? If so, when is it best to work with a third-party company to achieve these goals?
I'm kicking that right over to you, Bree.
I think it's to achieve these 5 pillars in B2B. So if you're going straight down the B2B pillar strategy, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can deliver on this. And I think finding partners is going to be important, right? So if you're thinking about creating an ecosystem where you can bring your content and leadership to life, creating really good partners to be able to do that will help expand on your leadership presence, right? It's hard to do that in a silo without anybody else to really bring those ideas bigger and the reach even more impactful. So yeah, I think I wouldn't necessarily think about straight outsourcing, but it all depends on the size of your company. So if you need help writing content or creating those thought leadership, yeah, then you might need to outsource, or you might need to bring in a ghostwriter that can help you write those ideas, or another partner that can really bring this to life for you. But otherwise, I would just think about how do you create an ecosystem where you can lean on other players in the space to be able to deliver on these things.
And I would use really leverage Denver Startup Week and networking with others to see how they do it. You're able to find companies that are doing similar things as you, and you can kind of bug them and hear how they're doing it, and see the places that you're able to tackle. Because I think that it's such a good point of, there is so many things that go into laddering up to these pillars, the tactics that ladder up to these pillars. We stayed pretty high level in this presentation, and we could really dig into tons of tactics under each of these pillars that would deliver on those things. So I would definitely leverage the networking that happens at things like Denver Startup Week.
Great. And Jillian, I'm going to try to paraphrase a little bit on your question here. It looks like you are looking to really launch a big campaign to really market your sites, your 3 different sites. And your question is, do you recommend that I need professional photography and video to launch this? And you said so expensive. What do you think is the best way to advertise this? Laura, do you want to jump in? I would say, we obviously are in the world of creating content, and we think that having a professional and high quality content really can help propel and create a campaign for you to bring this to life. And so if you check out our website, I would say we are trying to make it so it's not expensive for you to deliver on this. So there's a way to do affordable content creation. I don't want to get into this whole sales pitch here, but I would love for you to go visit back to Suna or reach out to one of us afterwards. But I think there's really interesting ways for you to try to deliver on your campaign and achieve your kind of quality goals and your exceptional service qualities by matching that with high quality content.
For sure. You're talking to 2 people that are going to tell you that you definitely need high quality content to launch. But I think the one thing, especially about thinking about a campaign and then how to reuse that content after, is really getting the most of the content that you do create. So that we think about content creation. So obviously that's something that we do at Suna, but then there's also content curation. So what is it that you already have? What are things that you could potentially borrow from partners or content that already exists? And then when you're creating content, and this is, again, we don't want to get into a Suna sales pitch, but the way that we deliver things like videos is that you can buy those clips. You don't have to buy the video from us. So those clips can also stand alone, or other photos, they can stand alone, or they can be paired with other marketing assets. So the idea is especially for a campaign, creating a content library affordably, but then also something that you can reuse that content later. Changing the background of a product on white to something red, there's your Valentine's Day post, or whatever it might be. So I think that the idea too is that you don't always have to create everything from scratch, but when you do, how can you make the most of it and really get the quote unquote bang for your buck for those things that you did take the time, energy, and effort to create?
Great. And Jillian, just to follow up, you said you're really local. So how do you create content when I'm up in Aspen? I mean, we do have this virtual experience. So that's one way you could actually send us product or send us what you need to be able to kind of create content or to then bring it back to you. You don't have to physically be here to do that, if that helps. But other than that, I mean, there's other ways where you can kind of make sure you're capturing the presence. If your whole experience is about the Aspen experience, then you need to think about how do you create content within that environment to be able to recognize and give hints back to those spaces for sure. So let's see what else. What are your thoughts, best tips regarding marketing to multiple generations, introverts/extroverts, and diverse cultures?
Wow, great question. When it comes to content strategy that needs to play across a bunch of different demos, I would really put your stake in the ground of what your mission or your story is. And so I think that even if, of course, personas and demographics have a time and place for paid advertising and all of that, but your message should always be true to your brand. And if it's a great message, then it's going to speak to those different demos. And so I would just say, really, really making sure that you have a really quick elevator pitch / story about your company that can really tell the story, or that can really work across those demographics. Easier said than done. But for instance, Casper believes in better sleep. That's something that that's their mission. And that speaks to, I mean, it's also sleep, so everybody sleeps, but that also just speaks to all of their demographics. But then, I mean, when it comes to the placement world, Bree, maybe you can speak to that. I mean, that's kind of where my head's going with that question, would be where those people are and potentially tweaking that main message of yours to speak to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great answer. It's hard to kind of dive into exact placements across those. It's more about how do you tailor and personalize your message to deliver to what you think they're want, how your brand aligns with them. It's an interesting thought about introverts versus extroverts. Like, how would that message differ? It's hard without me knowing exactly where you're coming from in terms of what you're delivering. But I think it's an interesting space to try to think about identifying, and then what channels where they would actually be, right? Let's see here. What else we got here? Early stage. Oh, I'm a founder of a B2B, B2C company. Airbnb as a parallel model. How do these pillars cross over with companies and marketplaces like this? I know.
We didn't talk a whole lot about B2C. I feel like some of those, the B2B and DTC kind of blend B2C.
They're like B2B, B2B to C. So really it's like an Airbnb, like where you're actually leveraging the location. So you have to sell in that aspect to then be able to sell into the consumer, right? So, I do think these pillars probably cross over. It's so hard. Like, everyone has to kind of go pick your pillar. So it's hard for me to say like, oh, you would pick these three to be able to do this. But I do think the direct to consumer has a ton of parallels. I mean, I think this is where you start to think about Gusto as that kind of almost parallel model in some ways. Like, they have to attract the businesses to be able to get to the customers, to be able to get the advocates. And so it's the same sort of parallel. Like, how do you build out your marketing to be able to bring the businesses in while also being able to service and message and create a platform for communication with the customers? So I think that's where I would think about is, like Airbnb obviously has the B2B side of it, but their reviews and everything is all on a consumer side. And so they're really trying to create that kind of crossover communication there. I think I'm getting your question, but type back if you don't think I'm actually getting if I'm not interpreting your question correctly here. Cool. I think there's a few more. I know we only have 2 more minutes to wrap up. Let's see if there's anything else I can grab here. Is there a Slack channel for the event? I am not certain on that one.
I don't believe so.
Okay. And let's see what else we got. Some thank yous. Oh, where do we take the style quiz? So you can go onto our website, Suna.co, and then you can do backslash style quiz. And there you can go through and a few different questions to kind of get a sense of what your style is. And it'll give you, based on your results, it'll give you some different suggestions on how you might think about your style personality. Anything else before we wrap up? I apologize if I didn't get to some of these other questions. Feel free to reach out. Laura just put up our Hey at Suna and just follow up there with something about Denver Startup Week, and we can try to get back to you with some of those questions as well. Cool. Anything else, Laura?
I don't think so. I think that we'd love to hear from you at hey@suna.co, both from the content creation side of things. We're definitely here to help startups, businesses of all sizes create content. So of course that is something, but if you had any, we'd love to hear about anything more about your playbooks, or if there was something something glaring we totally missed, and we'd love to hear from it. So hey@suna.co. And then Bree mentioned earlier that we do offer free headshots. So we want to give free headshots to everybody. So go to Suna.co. You can book your free headshot with us and come check out our awesome studio on South Broadway.
Thanks, Al.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, and appreciate the DSW team and of course all of our sponsors that made this event possible. Day one, it's happening. So we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys in some of the other sessions. Thanks so much.
Thank you.